relationships, enjoying rich conversations, and I want to enrich your life. So welcome back to the Rich Couch. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and it is the area of faith and mental health. And I won't go too long into this, but I do want to share just some thoughts that I've been having about faith in mental health in the last year. So, and I was really just blessed to be a part of a discussion. Myself and your girl, I have to have her on the Rich Couch, guys. Y'all gotta meet my girl, Anastasia Brokus of AB Counseling. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Since I'm shouting her out, yes, we're just gonna make it happen. Okay, we're gonna make it happen. So we teamed up and we did a presentation on faith in mental health for my church. We were in a series on holistic health. So being healthy in your nutrition, your physical fitness, your mental health, getting your finances together, just getting our whole life together, right? And if you come from a church background or a believer's background, I think it's so important to learn about biblical truths. And I grew up in church, so I learned a lot. I grew up in that environment, but to be honest, I did not hear a lot of teachings on mental health and where did it fit in, and believing in God, trusting in Jesus, relying on the Holy Spirit, but where does mental health fall into that, and where do I fall into that if I struggle with my mental health? So let's get into it, and I really want to hear from you guys as well, your thoughts on this in the comments. This is not a replacement for professional psychotherapy or mental health counseling. If you need to talk to someone, I do strongly encourage you to find a therapist that would be able to help you walk through some things. But I do want to hear your thoughts as appropriately in the comment section, as far as if you've had just thoughts about this. Where does mental health and faith, can it exist in the same room? Can it sit together on a couch and have a conversation? So let's get into it. So I know for me personal, I can share my own personal experience, right? Because I'm all about having rich conversations. I know for me personally, and for so many others, last year was a lot. Okay, we can all agree on that. We may not have agreed on so many other forums and different ideas, but with the pandemic, it is a known fact, whether you were researching it or not. Anxiety and depression in the U.S. skyrocketed, and some really at-risk groups were young adults, frontline workers, and adult caregivers to family members or a loved one. So these groups were really at high risk for suffering with depression, anxiety, and struggling with substance abuse. And I found this all on the CDC website. So thank you, Center for Disease Control. I think I said that right. But anyway, so it's a known fact, whether you are working as a cashier or you're working as a teacher, we all felt this tension and this fear, and we were isolated from our loved ones for a very long extended period. There was a shutdown, and just life itself completely changed for all of us. And some of us don't do well with change, or some of us don't do well with being cooped up inside. That was me. So if you can relate, let me know in the comment section. Being cooped up inside, being isolated, that was rough. But just to share a little personal too, I went through a job transition and left the organization that I really enjoyed working for a long time. And I decided to do a change as I was trying to finish up school. We moved. It was a lot happening, and then unexpectedly I was let go. I was let go, and that was such a blow. And I knew people were going through it. You saw it all over the news. You talked to friends. People were laid off left to right, and I just I didn't think I was immune to it, but now that I look back at it, maybe I did think I was immune to it. But either way, it happened, and it really put me in a place of just sadness and definitely moments of depression and me second guessing my worth, my skills, what I had to offer. And it really put me in a dark place, to be honest. And I remember that I had access to a phenomenal therapist. And for me, I was ready to talk to someone about what I was going through. I was ready because I do think there has to be a level of readiness. But I do think there was a part of me that felt like, I love God, I serve God, but I'm in this really terrible funk that I can't seem to get out of on my own. So I'm really gonna have to stretch myself to talk to someone who I don't know, but they are a professional and they are skilled in this area. And for me, a bonus was she loved God too. My therapist is a Christian, and it was a beginning of a journey of hope for me, and I'm still on that journey, if I can be honest. I gotta give her a call. I gotta schedule a session. I'm gonna be really, really honest with you guys. But I was so grateful that I did start the journey. And one thing I want to share with people who are either Christian or you're someone of the faith, and you are considering, after this whole 1.5 year battle with COVID and mental health and the anxiety and the depression, if you're considering seeing a therapist, but you're also struggling with the shame of I'm a bad Christian, or some way, somehow along the way, I failed. I failed as a child of God. I failed as a woman of God. I failed as a man of God, because I was in that place too. I will be honest. I was like, man, I'm a woman of God. I'm a praying, strong Black woman. And here I am in this place, this dark place. And I just want to share this to encourage someone, because I had to go almost deep diving, into the scriptures, because as believers, we look to the scriptures for hope, for truth, for inspiration. And the book of Job, I've been in and out of the book of Job in the Old Testament throughout this whole pandemic situation. Because if you know anything about the character of Job, he was a wealthy man who loved God, but he lost everything. And I mean everything. He lost his children, he lost his wealth, he lost his, respect. People, look to this man as a holy, wealthy, prosperous man. And now they're looking at him like, oh, his life is terrible. And we often reference Job as a story of hope and inspiration, but I think it's so easy, and this is just any patriarch of the faith, to overlook when they're going through a really rough time. So, took a deep dive into the book of Job, and chapter 3 he says some really critical things. Chapter 3, verse 11, he says, "Why did I not perish at birth and die as I came from the womb?" And a little bit down, it says on verse 20, "Why is light given to those in misery and life to the bitter of soul? To those who long for death that does not come, who search for a more than hidden treasure, who are filled with gladness and rejoice when they reach the grave." I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking at it through the lens of a therapist now, and I'm like, these are definitely some signs of suicidal thoughts, or what we call suicidal ideation. And I had never looked at Job as someone who struggled with suicidal thoughts or, wanting to die until I was in a really dark place. Not to the point of taking my life, but I was just in a really dark place. And so being in that dark place allowed me to look at the book of Job with a completely different lens. And there was another verse in chapter 6, verse 11 that says, "What strength do I have that I should still hope? What prospects that I should be patient?" Man, now we're seeing that he is struggling with his patience. Because when you hear, pastors or preachers or speakers talk about the book of Job, all you hear about is really, he went through a little hard time, he went through it. And then, his friends came to see him, his wife nagged, and then God showed up and boom, his life is back on track. But if you actually deep dive into the chapters and just kind of pull from his process, you'll see it was hard. Job was going through it. It was very, very hard. And again, these are obvious signs of, sadness, depression, suicidal thoughts. And this is a character that we look to for hope, So what is my point in saying all of this? Just looking at this story through a different lens and have going through what I went through, I realized that even some patriarchs of the faith, some leaders of the faith, people who inspire us, right? When we look to their stories when we're going through something, even they too have gone through something. But it doesn't make them a failure. It doesn't make them someone who is not worthy of God's grace and love, right? I love this shirt. I'm rocking my shirt today. Shouting out another friend, Desiree Ofori. She is the owner and lead creator of D. Khalees Art Studios. She has an Etsy shop. And I love this shirt. It says, "Grace yourself." Grace yourself. And it's every time I wear it, every time I see it, it's a reminder, Deborah, grace yourself. So whoever you are, grace yourself. Excuse me, if you're going through a rough season, if you're going through the COVID blues, depression, anxiety, whatever you're struggling with mentally right now, thoughts of stress, these are things that so many of us are experiencing. And I want you to know you don't have to feel guilty about that. You're not a bad person. You're not a failure. God is not mad at you because you're dealing with that. You're human, right? You're human. I'm human. It's time to grace yourself. So that's what I love about this shirt. It's a great reminder. And I also wanted to share this psalm that was a great comfort to me. And I'll wrap up from Psalm 93. "When anxiety was great within me, your peace gave me joy." So even, looking at the Psalms, the Psalms, everyone, probably from multiple beliefs, have heard of the Psalms and gleaned from the book of Psalms and gleaned from the wisdom and the hope that is found in the book of Psalms. So again, my point here is, if you are a believer, if you are, someone who is trusting in God and really wanting to put your mental health in his hands, it is okay. It is okay. Maybe this is your sign to let you know you could be free from, those thoughts of shame, thinking you're a failed Christian, and something my friend said that was so good. I gotta have her jump on here. When we facilitated this class, Anastasia said, just because you struggle with your mental health does not mean you have lost your anointing. I was like, oh, she be preaching. She don't know she be preaching. But I just thought that was so wise, so wise. And she does speak at churches. She speaks at universities. She works with young women. She works with pastors and leaders. And I thought this was such a good driving point to remind believers that if you are struggling with your mental health, that does not mean that the Lord's hand has departed from you. So if, prayer is a way that helps you, pray about it. But eventually you got to take action. You got to take that action, make the move, and start, looking into a therapist you would be comfortable working with along your healing journey. So I hope this was a rich conversation for you. I do want to keep it going. So I'm probably going to go ahead and invite my friend on here so we can talk some more about it. And I just think it's a great conversation to have amongst believers, and just to get rid of any stigma in the church community, any stigma in the faith community in regard to your mental health and your faith. So thank you guys so much for joining me for another Rich Couch, where we love to have rich relationships, we encourage rich conversation, and we want to enrich your life. Bye. See you next time.